Friends to Crypto News Global, I'm your host Nick Toka. On today's show, MicroStrategy shareholders vote to increase number of shares in order to fund more Bitcoin purchases. Also, Trump pardons former Silk Road founder, and Bitcoin icon Ross Ulbricht. And also on today's show, Coinbase CEO predicts Bitcoin reaching a multi-million-dollar price as Bitcoin continues adoption. All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome everyone to Crypto News Global. I'm your host Nick Toka. Today is January 21st, 2025, and it's the second day of the Donald Trump era, and we can now officially call him President Trump instead of President-elect Trump. And already yesterday he went through and had hundreds of executive orders that he signed, both on national TV and then after the fact. And one of his executive orders was to pardon former Silk Road founder and Bitcoin icon Ross Ulbricht. So interesting. That's going to be one of our stories for today. We're going to go through our market watch, our Bitcoin technical analysis, and then we'll get into our stories for the day. So let's hit it off and get right into it. First story of the day, MicroStrategy shareholders vote to increase the number of shares in order to fund more Bitcoin purchases. This guy's a genius. The shareholders behind MicroStrategy have voted to dramatically increase the number of shares in a bid to raise funds for additional Bitcoin. According to a new Bloomberg report, the business intelligence firm, known for its extensive Bitcoin investments, proposed increasing the number of authorized Class A common shares from 330 million to 10.3 billion, and preferred shares from 5 million to 1 billion. The proposal was met with approximately 56% shareholder approval. This move aims to raise up to $42 billion to add to MicroStrategy's already massive Bitcoin treasure chest over the next few years. Before the announcement was made, MicroStrategy added to the trove by buying 11,000 Bitcoin for $1.1 billion, bringing its total Bitcoin holdings to around 461,000, valued at more than $48 billion. Just last week, MicroStrategy added 2,530 Bitcoins to their stash, bringing their total at the time to 450,000 Bitcoin. And in a week prior, MicroStrategy announced a $2 billion fundraising plan to purchase more BTC. The firm says its planned capital raise, slated for the first 3 months of the year, may or may not go ahead depending on the market conditions. The purpose of the offering is to allow MicroStrategy to continue to strengthen its balance sheet and acquire more Bitcoin. The offering is expected to occur, if at all, in the first quarter of 2025. However, the decision whether to proceed with the offering is in MicroStrategy's sole discretion and is subject to market and other conditions. MicroStrategy may choose not to proceed with or consummate the offerings at all. So they're increasing their number of shares in MicroStrategy in order to raise more money to buy more Bitcoin, to make their share price go up. It's been this cycle. He's been doing it in different ways. He's been borrowing money at a very low interest rate, buying more Bitcoin, and now it looks like he is going to increase the number of shares so he can put a hell of a lot more money into Bitcoin. He's just a brilliant guy. it started from a software company, and now it's effectively evolved. It has evolved to the biggest Bitcoin treasury for a company on the planet. Really the first to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So he's ahead of the curve, really smart guy. And it doesn't matter if the price is low or high. He says he's going to buy the top every month, every week. It doesn't matter. He's going to keep buying the top, which leads us into our technical analysis. So speaking of the top, we are getting really close to our all-time high that was broken just the day of the inauguration in the morning, which is 109,000. We're currently at 105,500, up 4% today, bouncing back. Ethereum up to 3,327, up 3%. Solana up 7% at $250. XRP up 2% at $3.18. Doge up 7% at 37 cents. The total market cap for Bitcoin is 2 trillion and 90 billion. And we've got Ethereum at 400 billion. We've got XRP at 183 billion. Solana 122 billion at number 5 overall, up about 10 billion from yesterday. BNB after that. Doge at 54.5 billion. Cardano number 9 at 35 billion. And Tron to wrap up the top 10 at 21 billion total market cap. The market cap of all crypto is currently 3.56 trillion, with Bitcoin once again dominating at 58.69%. Ethereum falling even further at 11.25%. XRP holding pretty steady, 5.15%, and Solana gaining a little ground at 3.43%. And if we move into the crypto bubbles for the day, we see I shouldn't have sold my Trump is what it's showing me. The old Trump and dump looks like it's back on the move. Still way down from what it was. It was at $100 at one point. It's $47 at this right now. The AIs are really up today because Trump announced a large $500 billion deal with Oracle and OpenAI to help evolve the AI industry. So all the, Graphene, Moby was up, E.21 33%. Some of those other coins I mentioned you can't really get on the open market. You've got to go to the really the low grade exchanges, we'll call them. So you can get them. It's just a little more difficult. You've got to open some accounts and link them, and basically you're taking a bit of a risk. But they open up on those other exchanges before they ever come to a Coinbase style or a larger crypto.com. Crypto exchange. If you guys want more information on that, just leave me a comment. I could definitely reply. We've got Doge up 6.5%. We mentioned Trump, AI16Z. Hype is up 16%. XMR up 8%. FET up 10%. Rune up 7.5%. Sol up 7%. Let's zoom out a bit to the weekly, and we'll see. The smelly fart coin up 55% for the week. Sol up 33% for the week. Ray up 42% for the week. SPX up there at 30%. And if we zoom out to the month, and we've got about a 50-50 in terms of positive gains and negative. Fart coin 136%. E.21 up 100%. XRP up 45%. DEX up 81%, some substantial gainers for the month. Doge up 16%, I'm seeing there. Currently, we are at a 76 in greed in our crypto fear and greed index. Yesterday was also 76, and last week a 63. And what's interesting here is we are still in greed. We're not in extreme greed, yet the price is at this very near all-time high. So we're still not in extreme greed. So I'm expecting that, extreme greed is going to come after we break new all-time highs in price discovery. So pretty interesting what's happening here. And currently there are 1,186,613 Bitcoins left to mine until the final Bitcoin is mined in the year 2140. And until the next Bitcoin halving, approximately 3.5 years, we've got 1,178 days, and we've got 169,716 left to mine until the halving. Our top companies globally, I'm going to refresh again because Bitcoin pumped a little bit since we got on air. No change again in the top 10. You have to make a big gain, and it's overtime to really to jump. Although Bitcoin did it, it was in like the top 15 and it made it up to the number 7 pretty fast. But we still have gold at 18.5 trillion, Apple at 3.5, Nvidia 3.5, Microsoft 3, Amazon 2.4, Google 2.4, Bitcoin 2.1, Saudi Aramco at 1.8, silver 1.7, Meta 1.5. And top 11 brings Tesla at 1.369 trillion. And currently you can get 946 Satoshis for $1. And let's put this into perspective here a little bit. When 1 Satoshi equals $1, that would mean that Bitcoin price is $100 million. If it's 10 Satoshis per US dollar, that would mean $10 million. So it is getting pretty scarce. So, we're counting in Satoshis here. Of course, one Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million Satoshis. So interesting, as we do this broadcast over the weeks, this number keeps going down and down and down and down. And soon, one day, it's going to be, 1 for 1, which is going to be astonishing. Into our U.S. national debt. USDebtClock.org is the website, and currently the debt is up again about 6 trillion billion from yesterday at 380,888,000. That equals to 106,974 per citizen and 323,046 per taxpayer. So big chunks owing from the U.S., and we'll see what Trump does to bring this debt down. Now, what I found interesting is all the things he talked about in his, pre-inauguration. So after he was voted in as president. So when he was still a president-elect, he just was talking for a couple months. And some of the promises he made, he's already fulfilled. So the reason I bring that up is one of our stories here for today is that he has pardoned Ross Ulbricht, which was one of his promises. And I'm just want to point out here that he has come through with all his promises with these executive orders thus far, which leads me to think that his promise for Bitcoin also is going to come true. And when that happens, I really feel like the price of Bitcoin is going to pump. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. This was kind of late breaking news here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is already up almost 300,000 since I've seen this announcement. So I expect that come tomorrow, this is a bit of a big deal. This is a bullish sentiment for the crypto market. Let's get into the story. Trump pardons former Silk Road founder and Bitcoin icon Ross Ulbricht. Those who convicted Ulbricht were some of the same lunatics involved in the modern-day weaponization of government against me, wrote Trump Tuesday. Donald Trump announced Tuesday a pardon for Ross Ulbricht, ending the Silk Road founder's more than decade-long imprisonment. In a social media post on Truth Social, Trump said he had granted Ulbricht a full and unconditional pardon, citing support from the libertarian movement and criticizing the government's handling of Ulbricht's case. From 2011 to 2013, Ulbricht operated the Silk Road marketplace, going by the nickname Dread Pirate Roberts. Prosecutors said the site served over 100,000 buyers, facilitating illegal drug sales and laundering hundreds of millions of dollars. According to the FBI, the Silk Road made $13 million in Bitcoin through commissions. Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI October 1st, 2013 in San Francisco. Now 40 years old, Ulbricht was convicted in 2015 on charges including conspiracy to traffic narcotics and money laundering in connection with the Silk Road. He received a sentence of 2 life terms plus 40 years without parole. So, 2 lives weren't enough, and they also had to add 40 years. Sparkling years of debate over the fairness of his punishment. In his post, Trump labeled Ross' sentence as ridiculous. The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics involved in the modern-day weaponization of government against me, Trump wrote Tuesday. Since Ulbricht's 2015 conviction, the Free Ross campaign, spearheaded by his mother, Lynn Ulbricht, worked to keep Ulbricht's name in the public eye and secure his eventual freedom. During his run for re-election, Trump promised to commute Ulbricht's on day one in a bid to curry favor with libertarians and the Bitcoin community. Commute doesn't mean traveling in a car or going to work. Commute means it does mean that, but in a law sense, it means to lessen a sentence to a lower sentence. So he promised to commute Ulbricht on day one, which in this case means he's completely set him free, it looks like. It follows 8 months since Trump reignited hopes for the Silk Road founder's release. If you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, Trump declared at the 2024 Libertarian National Convention in May. The Libertarian movement played a crucial role in Donald Trump's 2024 presidential victory by mobilizing a key voter base in critical swing states. Thank you for honoring your pledge to Ross. To our members and to libertarians everywhere, Donald Trump, the Libertarian Party, said on Tuesday on X. On January 20th, 2025, the day Trump took office, hope began to dim as the day passed and no news or pardon had been issued as promised. On Monday night, rumors began to circulate that a pardon was imminent. Ross's pardon is expected to draw sharp reactions from both supporters and critics. Advocates for Ulbricht have long argued his sentence was excessive, while opponents heightened the scale of criminal activity linked to the defunct dark web marketplace. It's unclear when Ulbricht will leave the U.S. penitentiary in Tucson, Arizona, where he has spent the last decade. All right, so hallelujah. Put him in jail for 2 lifetimes plus 40 years for running a little Bitcoin. And Was it his fault that people were using it to sell illegal drugs and launder money? Back then things were a little more open. If that were to be done today on one of these large exchanges, yeah, it'd be a big deal. That was kind of when things were in their infancy in the Bitcoin space. So I have to commend Trump for following through with his promise. So if he followed through with this promise to free Ross Ulbricht on day one, and it really is, look, it's day one. Yesterday would be, day zero. I think we have some big news for Bitcoin coming up. And once again, I do expect that the price of Bitcoin, if we flip back to it, I bet it's already up a little bit. It's pretty much holding steady at 105,770. I do expect on the back of that news, we're going to see a bit of a pump on Bitcoin. Let's move into our next story of the day. And the Coinbase CEO predicts Bitcoin reaching multi-million-dollar prices as adoption continues. This is great news coming from the Coinbase CEO. It's amazing. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong foresees Bitcoin becoming the global gold standard amid ETF approval and legislative support, which has already happened. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong predicted that the Bitcoin will reach the multiple million price range if countries begin implementing strategic Bitcoin reserves following the U.S. Speaking during an appearance on CNBC's Squawk Box, Armstrong argued that institutional adoption, the approval of crypto-related exchange-traded funds in the U.S., the potential approval of friendly legislation, and the implementation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the U.S. are all significant drivers that could propel the flagship crypto to new highs in the coming year. If the U.S. took the path, probably the rest of the G20 would follow. I've discussed with a number of finance ministers here in Switzerland from different countries around the world the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They are getting more interested in it now because the U.S. is looking into it. He added that Bitcoin has a long way to go as it will be the new gold standard globally, with the crypto market being even larger than BTC itself. Heralding financial freedom. Speaking at the Coinbase House in Davos, during this year's edition of the World Economic Forum, Armstrong discussed the role of crypto in heralding financial freedom. He emphasized the significance of stablecoins and highlighted that they have given access to the dollar exposure in countries affected by hyperinflation with just a smartphone. However, Armstrong argued that the dollar is not perfect either. No kidding, which could be an opportunity to encourage people to consider Bitcoin's characteristics, such as scarcity, as the new gold standard. Additionally, he called inflation an insidious thing that only affects the poorest people holding nothing but cash. He further stated, cocksuckers, right? If we actually return to the sound money, like this new gold standard, that actually could be foundational to prevent the abuse of many of the fiat currencies and overprinting around the world. Yes, indeed, 100%. Rising adoption. Regarding the direction of the crypto in the next 10 years, Armstrong believes that more and more of the global gross domestic product related to payments will run on crypto rails. He added that stablecoins are currently experiencing that moment of surging adoption across the markets. He also assessed that this stablecoin trend will continue, bringing faster and cheaper payments. However, despite stablecoins being the easiest way to introduce people to the dollar exposure, they remained susceptible to inflation-related risks. Armstrong said that people should be encouraged to figure out how to invest in crypto that appreciates to avoid dollar-related inflation. He also highlighted decentralized borrowing and lending marketplaces as a way of crypto to inject financial freedom in countries with scarce credit lines. So they already announced, Coinbase did earlier this week, about a week ago now, that they will offer loans in exchange for your Bitcoin, and not even in exchange. Loans, Bitcoin-backed loans. So you'll basically say, okay, I have half a Bitcoin, and I want, $50,000 as of today. So they'll take your half Bitcoin, and they will loan you the $50,000. And what people can do is potentially use this as an ingenious way, kind of doing a mini Michael Saylor, where they can borrow the money, wait for the price of Bitcoin to go up, and then pay off their loan, and then get their Bitcoin back at the higher price. For example, you give them half your Bitcoin, you borrow 50 grand. Bitcoin, as Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase here, says, could go into the multi-millions. So 4 years later, your Bitcoin is now worth, one Bitcoin, let's say, is worth $1 million, and you get your half Bitcoin back, which would then be worth $500,000. You'd pay off your $50,000 loan, and you'd be left with $450,000. It's actually, for people who are antsy and can't hodl, and they need to buy and sell, the day traders, which generally aren't the people making the money. The people who are making the money are the hodlers, both in these standard financial markets and in crypto. This could be a way for antsy people to force them to hodl, because they're going to lend against their Bitcoin. I think it's amazing. I like what these guys are doing. They are not the first to do this, but I believe they're the first to offer this to the public, to the general public. MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, does deal with a bank, and the name fails me right now, but that bank that he deals with does take his Bitcoin as collateral. So he basically he gives them a little Bitcoin, or lends them Bitcoin in return for a loan. Then he takes the loan and he buys more Bitcoin. So he's got a bit of a great cycle there, and that's something that can be done even on an individual basis. Again, be careful. Michael Saylor already had a successful company before he started going this Bitcoin route. So, never throw your entire savings at anything, no matter how nice and pretty it might look. But do remember, folks, that money is abundant and money is everywhere. Time is what is scarce, so use your time wisely. Use your time to learn, use your time to read books. In terms of spending, spend less than what you earn. That'll help your bottom line increase. If you suddenly make more money, save more money. Don't start spending more money. And the younger you are to start saving, the better. The idea is to retire when you're 40 in your prime and not 65 when you're too old to do the things you love anymore. And if you have that great idea, start today. Even if you're not ready, start today, get things going, and things will slowly come together for you. Hopefully you found this stream enjoyable. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you on the next stream, folks. Thanks so much for joining.